I'm honored to have you here, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you for choosing our video on Charles Gabriel Seligmann. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Charles Gabriel Seligmann FRS FRAI Seligmann, 24 December 1873 19 September 1940 was a British physician and ethnologist. His main ethnographic work described the culture of the Vedda people of Sri Lanka and the Shilluk people of the Sudan. He was a professor at London School of Economics and was influential to prominent anthropologists such as Bronisław Malinowski, East, Evans-Pritchard, and Meyer Fortes. Seligmann was an advocate and published literature for the Hamitic hypothesis, stating the Cushitic, Berber, and Egyptians were thought to have lineage with the speculated, and later debunked, Caucasoid Hamitic people, categorically different to the denoted Negroids of Sub-Saharan Africa. His work in the Urs and Urs are now seen as white supremacist. Without further ado, let's move on to the topic of life and career. Seligmann was born into a middle-class Jewish family in London, the son of wine merchant Hermann Seligmann and his wife. Charles shortened his name to Seligmann after 1914, when Britain was at war with Germany. He studied medicine at St. Thomas Hospital. After several years as a physician and pathologist, he volunteered his services to the 1898 Cambridge University expedition to the Torres Strait. He later joined expeditions to New Guinea 1904, Ceylon, and Sudan, again in 1905, Seligmann married ethnologist Brenda Zara Salomon, and they travelled on many expeditions together. She had been educated at Bedford College and was skilled at languages. She was able to observe women's ceremonies that Charles was not allowed to see. He credited her in his publications. From 1913 to 1934, Seligmann served as chair of ethnology at the London School of Economics. The anthropology department's Seligmann Library is named for him. From 1933, he edited the Cresset Historical Series, a book series published by the Cresset Press in London. Seligmann was also a Fellow of the Royal Society. Let's now turn our attention to Hamites and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. Seligmann is remembered for his detailed ethnographical work Races of Africa 1930, which recognizes four major distinct races of the African continent: Bushmanoids, Bushmen, Pygmies, Negroids, and Caucasoids Hamites. The Hottentots, Seligmann maintains, are a mixture of Bushmanoid, Negroid, and Hamitic. As a staunch proponent of the Hamitic theory, in his work Seligmann asserts that Hamitic Caucasoid North and Northeast Africans were responsible for introducing non-Semitic Afro-Asiatic languages Berber Cushitic Egyptian into Africa, as well as civilization, technology, and all significant cultural developments. In this book, Seligmann states his belief that, apart from relatively late Semitic-influenced civilizations of Africa, other civilizations of the Hamites, its history is the record of these peoples and of their interaction with the two other African stocks, the Negro and the Bushmen, whether this influence was exerted by highly civilized Egyptians or by such wider pastoralists as are represented at the present day by the Beja and Somali. Other incoming Hamites were pastoral Caucasians arriving wave after wave, better armed as well as quicker-witted than the dark agricultural Negroes. Following Giuseppe Serge's 1901 classification of the Hamites, Seligmann divides the Hamites into two groups, the Eastern Hamites and the Northern Hamites. The former include the ancient and modern Egyptians, the Beja, the Berberines, Barbara and Nubians, the Gala, the Somali, the Danakil and Ethiopians. The latter branch includes the Berbers and the Tuareg and Tibu of the Sahara, the Fulb of Western Sudan, and the extinct Guanche of the Canary Islands. Seligmann acknowledged varying degrees of Negroid admixture among the Hamitic groups, but emphasized throughout his major works the essential racial and cultural unity of the various Hamitic peoples. In his Some Aspects of the Hamitic Problem in the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan 1913, he writes that the northern and eastern Hamitic groups shade into each other, and in many parts a Negro admixture has taken place. Nevertheless, culturally if not always physically, either division stands apart from its fellow. The Hamites in general, and the northern Hamites in particular, he asserted, have close kinship with the European representatives of the Mediterranean race. Drawing from Kuhn, Seligmann also discusses fairer features observed among a minority of Berbers or northern Hamites, such as lighter skin, golden beards, and blue eyes. Races of Africa, however, notably questions the belief held by some anthropologists in the early 20th century that these fairer traits, such as blondism, were introduced by a Nordic variety. In addition, Seligmann laid stress on the common descent of Hamites with Semites, writing that there is no doubt that the Hamites and Semites must be regarded as modifications of an original stock, and that their differentiation did not take place so very long ago, evidence for this statement being furnished by the persistence of common cultural traits and linguistic affinities. Physically, their relationship is obvious. Since the the Hamitic hypothesis and other theories of race science have become discredited in science, widely. Let's transition to Races of Africa and uncover its significance. Races of Africa 1930 upon publication received positive reviews. It was considered to be the first major published work in English on the ethnography of Africa, and was widely regarded as an ethnological classic. Anthropologist Alfred L. Kroeber in a review praises the book for its vast amount of accurate information in such concise form. The first book edition was published by Home University Library and later in the same year by Oxford University Press. It was used in many universities, in history and anthropology classes, through to the late Races of Africa was revised 4 times. Seligmann published a second revised edition in 1939, a year before his death. Additions to the original edition published 9 years ago include a note on the importance of the Boskop-Skullen account of the Pygmies as described by Paul Schaebester and a slight alteration in the classification of the linguistic stocks of the Guinea coast. A revised third edition appeared in 1957 and was later reprinted to meet demand in 1959 and 1961. This edition is notable as it was brought up to date by more than a dozen anthropologists, and was very well received. A final revised edition was published in 1966, and the book was republished up to 1979. In the next phase, we'll be immersing ourselves in the realm of selected works and exploring its real-world applications. Melanesians of British New Guinea 1910 to Veddas 1911, with Brenda Seligmann Some Aspects of the Hamitic Problem in the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan 1913 Races of Africa 1930, 1939, 1957, 1966 The Pagan Tribes of Nilotic Sudan London, Routledge, 1932, with Brenda Seligmann. His and Brenda Seligmann's papers are held at the London School of Economics. Don't forget to check out my other videos for more valuable content.